Tonight, I invite you not to listen as one who gathers information, but as one who remembers something long forgotten. For what I speak of is not new, and yet it is the most neglected truth in the world. It is the secret by which all things are made visible, the law that has never failed, though millions live and die without ever consciously using it. If you knew this secret, not merely heard it, not merely agreed with it, but knew it, you would no longer wait, you would no longer strain, and you would no longer ask when. Manifestation would cease to be a hope and become a natural consequence of your inner movement. You are not here to change the world outside of you. The world you see is not the cause, it is the effect. Every circumstance, every relationship, every condition of life is a shadow cast by an inner state. And shadows do not move first, they follow. Yet humanity has been trained to fight shadows, to rearrange effects, to plead with appearances, and then wonder why nothing truly changes. The secret is this: all creation is finished, and your role is not to create, but to select. You select by assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Most people think manifestation is about desire. They believe wanting something intensely will bring it to them. But desire alone has never produced a single result. Desire simply reveals what you are conscious of lacking. What manifests is not what you want, but what you are conscious of being. The world does not respond to your hopes or your affirmations spoken in fear. It responds to your state of consciousness. And a state is nothing more than a feeling of being something. If you could grasp this, truly grasp it, you would stop asking how it will happen. The how has never been your responsibility. The seed does not argue with the soil about how roots will grow or how fruit will appear. It simply yields to the process. In the same way, once you occupy the state of the wish fulfilled, the means appear naturally, logically, and often in ways you could never have planned. Now let us go deeper, because many hear these words and still do not manifest. Why? Because they attempt to do something instead of being something. They try to use imagination as a technique rather than recognizing it as the creative power itself. Imagination is not a tool you use occasionally, it is your very being. You cannot stop imagining any more than you can stop breathing. The question is not whether you imagine, but from where you imagine. Every moment of your life, you are inwardly affirming something to be true. When you walk into a room and feel inferior, you are imagining yourself as lesser. When you expect rejection, you are imagining rejection before it occurs. And life, faithful servant that it is, rearranges itself to confirm that assumption. This is not punishment, this is law. The secret to manifesting faster is not repetition, nor is it emotional intensity, it is naturalness. When something feels natural to you, it manifests quickly. When it feels strange, distant, or forced, it lingers. The speed of manifestation is directly related to how natural the assumed state feels to you. That is why some things appear instantly while others take years, though the desire may be equal. Consider this carefully. You do not struggle to manifest your name, your age, or your past. You do not affirm them daily. You do not visualize them at night. They are simply assumed to be true, and so they persist effortlessly. If you could bring the same sense of naturalness to any desired state, it would objectify just as easily. Here is where most fail. They attempt to feel the emotion of joy or excitement, thinking that emotion is the key. But emotion is not the cause, it is the byproduct. The true creative act is the quiet acceptance that this is so. It is an inner knowing, calm and without effort. The moment you feel that something is already yours, the desire dissolves. And when desire dissolves, manifestation begins. You must understand this paradox. You do not manifest what you desire. You manifest what you no longer desire because you have accepted it as fact. Wanting is a confession of lack. Acceptance is a declaration of possession. The world moves in response to acceptance. Let us speak now of imagination, for imagination is the workshop of creation. When I say imagine, I do not mean daydream idly or picture something vaguely. I mean enter into a state inwardly. where you experience the reality of your fulfilled desire. You do not see it as something happening in the future, you experience it as something happening now. You are not watching yourself become, you are being. If you wish to be something, then in imagination you must be it. Do not look at the scene, look from it. Do not hear congratulations, hear them as though they are spoken to you now. Do not see the object in your hand, feel its weight, its texture, its presence, and most importantly, feel the relief, the calm certainty that comes with fulfillment. The secret that accelerates all manifestation is this: remain faithful to the inner experience. Most people enter the state briefly and then abandon it the moment the outer world contradicts it. They say, "I imagined, but nothing happened." They forget that imagination is cause, and the world must take time to rearrange itself to reflect that cause. When you look to the outside for confirmation, you reverse the process. You make the effect the cause again. You must learn to walk by inner sight, not outer appearance. The moment you accept imagination as reality, the outer world loses its power to discourage you. You no longer ask, "Is it working?" because you know that what you have experienced inwardly must express itself outwardly. This is faith, not faith in a distant power, but faith in the reality of your inner act. Faith is loyalty to the unseen, and loyalty is tested not when things go well, but when appearances deny what you have assumed. If you persist, not with effort but with quiet confidence, the unseen becomes seen. Now let us address time, for time is the great illusion that delays manifestation. People say it will take time, and by saying so they assign their desire to a future state. But creation is finished. There is no future creation, only present selection. When you assume a state, you step into a version of yourself that already exists. The appearance of time is merely the bridge of incidents unfolding naturally. Do not try to shorten the bridge. Do not interfere with it. Do not question each step. Walk it in confidence. The bridge will unfold in ways that seem ordinary, even accidental, yet every step will be perfectly coordinated. You will meet the right people, hear the right words, be moved to the right places without strain. This is not magic, this is alignment. The faster you stop interfering, the faster things appear. Interference comes from doubt, from checking, from emotional swings between hope and despair. Persistence is not repetition, it is steadfastness. It is remaining in the knowing even when you are silent, even when you are busy, even when you are not thinking about it consciously. There is another secret, subtle but powerful. You must learn to detach from the old story. As long as you keep repeating who you were, you cannot fully occupy who you are becoming. The old identity must be allowed to die. This does not mean denying facts. It means withdrawing emotional loyalty from them. You stop telling yourself the same explanations, the same justifications, the same limitations. Every time you say, "This is just how I am," you are reaffirming a state. Every time you say, "People like me never get that," you are sealing a door. Words spoken inwardly are far more powerful than words spoken aloud. Listen to your inner conversations. They are the blueprint of your future. Change the conversation, and you change the state. And when the state changes, the world must follow. You may ask, "What if I fail? What if I imagine and it does not come?" This question reveals the misunderstanding. There is no failure in imagination. The only failure is returning to the old state. Imagination never fails, it is always producing. The question is always, what are you faithful to? If you imagine wealth but remain inwardly loyal to scarcity, scarcity will persist. If you imagine love but continue to identify as unwanted, unwantedness will express. You cannot serve two states, you must choose. The moment you fully accept responsibility for your inner world, you are free. No one to blame, no one to impress, no one to wait for. You are the operant power. This does not make you arrogant, it makes you deliberate. You stop reacting and start selecting. And now I tell you something that may disturb you, but it will also liberate you. No one else is the cause of your experience. People play the roles you assign them. unconsciously and faithfully. Change your assumption about a person, and the person must change in relation to you. This is not manipulation, it is recognition. They are reflecting your inner belief. If you believe someone is unkind, they will find a way to confirm it. If you assume they are loving, they will surprise you, not because they changed, but because you did. And the world can only echo what you are. This is why forgiveness is so powerful. Forgiveness is not for them, it is for you. It is the release of an old assumption. When you forgive, you drop the state that binds you. And the moment you drop it, life rearranges itself accordingly. Now let us speak of persistence. For persistence is misunderstood. Persistence does not mean repeating an imaginal act with tension. It means returning to the state whenever the mind wanders. Gently, naturally, without force, just as you would return home after a journey. You return inwardly to the feeling of fulfillment. If doubt arises, do not fight it. Fighting gives it life. Simply shift your attention back to the assumed state. Attention is the food of consciousness. What you attend to grows. If you feel discouraged, remember this: the seed is invisible before it breaks the surface. You do not dig it up daily to check its progress. You trust the law. The same law governs imagination. Your inner act is the seed. Let it be. You may not always feel joyful. You may not always feel confident. That is not required. What is required is acceptance. Quiet, steady acceptance. The kind that does not announce itself, does not argue, does not seek approval. The greatest manifestations often arrive when you have forgotten to worry. Why? Because in forgetting you have released resistance. Resistance is the only delay. And now I will tell you the deepest secret of all, the one that transforms imagination from effort into identity. You are not using imagination, you are imagination. The I am within you is the creative power spoken of in every sacred text. When you say I am, you are naming God in yourself. Whatever you place after those words becomes law in your world. Be careful then what you consent to being. Do not say, I am anxious, I am unlucky, I am behind. These are not descriptions, they are decrees. Choose your being deliberately. Say inwardly, I am secure, I am chosen, I am fulfilled. And say it not as affirmation, but as recognition. Live from that recognition, and watch how life reorganizes itself around you. You do not need more time. You do not need better circumstances. You do not need permission. You need only to shift where you are dwelling inwardly. The moment you do, everything changes. Not always dramatically at first, but inevitably. This law is impersonal. It does not judge you. It does not ask if you deserve. It responds, always. And when you understand this, fear dissolves. For what is there to fear when you know the cause is within you? Tonight, take this with you. Do not try to manifest. Simply assume. Do not chase. Rest in being. Do not wait. Accept. And let the world, faithful and obedient, reflect the state you have chosen to occupy. Begin to notice how lightly life responds when you stop forcing it. The moment you relax into an assumption, things shift with a subtlety that almost escapes notice. A chance remark, an unexpected invitation, a sudden impulse to act. These are not coincidences. They are movements within the bridge of incidents, flowing from the state you have already occupied inwardly. If you watch closely, you will see that life is always rearranging itself to agree with what you silently accept as true. Most people miss this because they expect dramatic signs. They are waiting for thunder when the law works like a whisper. Manifestation does not announce itself, it unfolds. And the more you trust this unfolding, the faster it moves. Impatience slows everything because impatience is simply doubt in disguise. When you are truly convinced inwardly, there is nothing to be impatient about. You see, certainty is quiet. It does not shout. It does not need reassurance. When you know, you stop asking. And when you stop asking, you stop affirming lack. This is why those who manifest effortlessly rarely speak about it. To them, it feels ordinary. natural, expected. Now understand this clearly: your inner world is not separate from your outer world. They are one continuous movement. What you consent to inwardly must externalize, because there is no power opposing it. There is only your own divided attention. When you imagine one thing and believe another, belief always wins. Belief is imagination hardened into fact through repetition and acceptance. This is why discipline of the inner world is essential. Not discipline as struggle, but discipline as awareness. Become aware of what you are assuming throughout the day, not just in moments of visualization, but in casual thoughts, idle reactions, inner commentary. These unnoticed moments are where states are reinforced. If something displeases you, do not react emotionally. Reaction is agreement. Instead, pause inwardly and revise it. See it as you wish it had been. Feel the relief of that correction. This act may seem small, but it is one of the most powerful uses of imagination. By revising the past, you alter the state from which the future flows. WS. The past is not fixed. It exists only as memory, and memory is imagination. Change the memory and you change the influence it has over you. This is not denial, it is liberation. You are not erasing facts, you are dissolving their emotional charge. And when the charge is gone, the pattern dissolves. As you practice this, you will notice that your reactions soften. Situations that once triggered fear or anger lose their grip. This is not because the world has changed, but because you have moved to a higher level of awareness. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, you are the source. Never underestimate the power of assumption held without effort. The most effective imaginal acts are simple, brief, and emotionally calm. A single second of true acceptance is more powerful than hours of strained visualization. It is not the length of time that matters, but the depth of conviction. If you wish to know whether you have truly assumed a state, observe how you feel afterward. Do you feel relieved, calm, certain, or do you feel anxious, checking, waiting? The feeling reveals the state. Learn to trust that inner indicator more than any outer sign. Remember this: you are always manifesting. There is no pause, no neutral gear. The question is not if you are creating, but what you are creating from. When you understand this, you stop fearing mistakes. You realize that you can always choose again. No state is permanent unless you continue to occupy it. Allow yourself to outgrow old desires. Some desires fade once you recognize the state behind them. You may discover that what you truly wanted was not the object, but the feeling it represented. And when you give yourself that feeling inwardly, the object either appears naturally or becomes unnecessary. This is freedom, not attachment to outcomes, but mastery of states. You are not here to chase manifestations, you are here to move through levels of consciousness. Each level brings its own world with it. As you rise inwardly, life becomes simpler, fewer struggles, fewer dramatic battles, more flow, more alignment. Things come to you instead of you running after them. And this is not because you are passive, but because you are centered. You will still act, but your actions will feel inspired rather than forced. You will still plan, but without anxiety. You will still desire, but without desperation. This balance is the mark of one who understands the law. Let this understanding sink deeply into you. Nothing is missing. You are not incomplete. You are not waiting for permission from life. Life is waiting for instruction from you. And that instruction is given silently through assumption. So watch what you consent to. Watch what you dwell upon. Watch what you say yes to inwardly. For every inner yes becomes an outer fact, and every inner no becomes an obstacle. Remain gentle with yourself as you practice this. You are not undoing years of habit overnight, but each moment of awareness shifts momentum. Each conscious assumption moves you closer to mastery. And mastery is not control over the world, It is harmony with the law that governs it. As you continue to live from this understanding, you may notice a growing sense of peace. Not because everything is perfect, but because you know where power lies. And when you know that, even uncertainty loses its threat. Stay faithful to your inner knowing. Let imagination be your refuge, your guide, your home. Dwell there often, not as escape, but as recognition. For what you accept there must, without exception, take form here. Begin to notice how your sense of self shifts when you no longer seek validation from appearances. The outer world, once so loud and demanding, starts to lose its authority. You still observe it, you still participate in it, but you no longer bow to it. You understand that appearances are reports, not verdicts. They tell you what you have been conscious of, not what you must remain conscious of. This is where true inner confidence is born. Not the confidence that comes from success, but the confidence that creates success. You stop measuring yourself by outcomes and start measuring yourself by alignment. When you are aligned inwardly, outcomes take care of themselves. Many believe that surrender means giving up desire, but surrender, in truth, is giving up resistance. It is the release of the inner argument, the endless questioning, the emotional tug-of-war. When you surrender, you are not saying, "I don't care." You are saying, "I trust." And trust accelerates everything. You may notice that when you assume a state fully, desire fades into contentment. This contentment is not boredom, it is fulfillment. And fulfillment is the signal that the creative act is complete. From that moment on, life is simply catching up. Do not be alarmed if the outer world seems unchanged at first. Movement often happens beneath the surface long before it becomes visible. Roots grow in darkness. The seed breaks open in silence. So too does your assumption take form beyond the reach of your senses before it announces itself. You are not meant to strain your imagination. Imagination responds best to ease. Enter the state gently, as you would slip into sleep. In fact, the moments before sleep are especially powerful, because the mind is relaxed and receptive. In those moments, feel yourself to be what you desire to be, and let that feeling carry you into rest. Sleep is not an interruption of creation, it is a continuation of it. What you accept as true before sleep is impressed upon the deeper levels of consciousness. And what is impressed there expresses itself naturally, without effort. Yet even during the day, in the midst of activity, you can return to the state. A quiet reminder, a subtle feeling, a brief inner smile. These small returns strengthen the assumption without exhausting you. You are not required to deny what you see. Denial creates tension. Instead, acknowledge appearances without consenting to them. You can say inwardly, "This is what I see, but this is not what I accept." Acceptance is creative. Observation is neutral. As this understanding deepens, you will find yourself responding differently to challenges. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening?" you will ask, "What state is this reflecting?" And once you identify the state, you can choose again. Always, you can choose again. Freedom lies not in perfect manifestation, but in the ability to shift states deliberately. When you know you can move, you are never trapped. Circumstances may arise, but they do not define you. They are temporary expressions of a state you no longer occupy. Allow your identity to expand. Do not confine yourself to what has been. The moment you say, "I have always been this way," you close the door to transformation. Consciousness is fluid. It moves the moment you move it. You may begin to sense that life is less personal than you once believed. Events are not happening to you, they are happening through you. This realization removes blame, guilt, and fear. It replaces them with responsibility, and responsibility, when understood, is empowering. As you practice this way of living, the need to convince others disappears. You no longer argue for your assumptions, you live them. And life speaks for you, in results rather than explanations. Let your inner world become so vivid, so familiar, that the outer world feels like the echo that it is. Do not chase the echo, speak the sound. When doubts arise, and they will, do not dramatize them. Doubt is simply a habit, not a truth. Acknowledge it and return to your chosen state. Over time, doubt weakens from neglect. Faith grows from use. This is not a path of blind belief. It is a path of experiment. Assume a state and watch what follows. Test the law in small ways, not to prove it, but to become comfortable with it. Confidence grows through experience. As this confidence grows, you will notice a subtle joy, not the excitement of anticipation, but the calm pleasure of knowing. Knowing that life is not against you. Knowing that you are not at the mercy of chance. Knowing that what you accept inwardly must express itself outwardly. Remain attentive to this knowing. Let it guide you quietly. Let it shape your assumptions gently. And allow the world, faithful and responsive, to continue unfolding in harmony with the states you choose to occupy. Begin to feel how effortless this becomes when you stop trying to manage every detail. Control belongs to the outer mind, but creation belongs to consciousness. The outer mind worries, calculates, and doubts. Consciousness simply accepts and allows. When you stop micromanaging life and instead govern your inner state, you discover that intelligence far greater than reasoning is at work. This is why forcing action never brings lasting results. Action that arises from anxiety carries anxiety with it. Action that flows from assumption certainty. You will still act, but your actions will feel timed, appropriate, almost inevitable. You will say the right thing without rehearsal, move at the right moment without planning, and opportunities will meet you halfway. Understand this: you do not need to feel worthy to receive. Worthiness is not a prerequisite, assumption is. The law does not ask whether you deserve, it asks only what you accept as true. Many delay their good by waiting to feel ready, healed, confident, or improved. But readiness comes after assumption, not before it. If you assume yourself to be chosen, you will feel chosen. If you assume yourself to be successful, confidence follows naturally. Feeling follows being, not the other way around. Reverse the order, and struggle disappears. There is a subtle joy that comes from no longer arguing with life. You stop saying, "This shouldn't be happening," and instead say, "This is showing me something." Every experience becomes feedback, not punishment, and feedback allows adjustment without emotional collapse. As this awareness stabilizes, patience develops naturally, not the patience of waiting, but the patience of trust. You are no longer racing against time because you are no longer imagining yourself behind. The idea of being late dissolves when you realize that all states exist now. You may notice that desires arise differently. They feel lighter, less desperate. They come as invitations rather than demands. This is because you are no longer seeking completion through things. You are selecting expressions of a fullness you already feel. Do not mistake this for indifference. You will still care deeply, but you will care without attachment. And attachment is what binds desire to delay. Detachment does not push away, it draws nearer. When the mind wanders into old patterns, gently redirect it. Not with criticism, but with recognition. Say inwardly, "That is no longer where I live," and return to the state you have chosen. States are homes. You move by attention. If at times the world seems to challenge your assumption, do not retreat. Challenges are not obstacles, they are adjustments. The bridge of incidents does not always look pleasant, but it is always precise. Trust its intelligence. There will be moments when everything seems quiet, still, unchanged. These are not empty moments, they are integration. Consciousness is settling. Do not rush these pauses. Silence is often a sign that movement is deep. Gradually you will notice a difference in how others respond to you. Without effort, without explanation, dynamics shift. Respect appears where there was none. Warmth replaces distance. Support emerges unexpectedly. This is not coincidence, it is resonance. Life responds to who you are being, not who you are trying to be. And being requires no effort. Let this understanding mature within you. Do not turn it into a performance or a ritual. Live it simply, quietly. Let your assumptions be private, sacred, unquestioned. And as you continue in this way, you will sense that creation is not something you do occasionally. It is something you are participating in at every moment, consciously or unconsciously. Awareness is the difference. Remain aware, remain chosen inwardly, remain fulfilled inwardly, and allow everything else to arrange itself in perfect, natural response to that inner truth. What remains then is not something to learn, but something to live. You have heard enough. Knowing more will not change your life. Being more will. The moment you leave this understanding as an idea, it loses power. The moment you embody it as identity, it becomes law. Do not wait for proof. Proof follows assumption. It never precedes it. Decide who you are inwardly, accept it without negotiation, and let the world do what it has always done, conform. Remember this above all else. The power you have been seeking is the awareness reading these words. Nothing outside of you will save you, complete you, or grant you permission. You are the source, the chooser, the place where all change begins. Assume wisely, dwell deliberately, and let your life become the quiet, undeniable evidence that consciousness, once claimed, reshapes everything.